I think it's just like patients. Patients come into the clinic. They're like, why do I have to strengthen this muscle? Why do I have to improve my cardio? Why do I have to do these things? They don't understand the value of that until they do it. And then all of a sudden they start seeing, oh, well, wait a minute. It's way easier to get out of a chair if I have a little more strength and a little more endurance and better balance.
All right.
So we just got to get people doing it.
So you guys are familiar with Neil Patel?
Yeah.
So Neil Patel, super smart guy, big in, content, SEO, analytics, blogs. He's got a couple of great, really, really great resources. My favorite is Answer the Public, which is like a reverse Google search, just a really great starting place for trying to figure out your audience, your who. He released this graphic, and here's why Neil Patel is so smart. People are feeding him information. They'll happily give him their information in exchange for resources back. And Neil is now paying attention to, if Dave is saying, I want this person, I'm guessing how old they are based on where are they maybe in their career. This graphic is highlighting generational marketing and behavior insights, how different age groups engage with content. And he sort of says, like, I'm going to take the different generations, Alpha, Z, Y, X, and baby boomers, and I'm going to rank them in terms of how do they like to interact with content, from email to blogs, webinars, videos, podcasts, or text-based posts. And he sort of does a heat map. And look what I like, I'm not a scientist, but I look at the middle of this graph and I go, look at that. Look at that heat map in the middle, right? If this were a baseball player, do not pitch in the middle. But this is middle of that. This is throw it down the middle, right, if you want to hit. So for the people listening on the podcast, you can find this by looking up Neil Patel, NP Digital. But long form and short form videos, and then we'll also say images, are either a 5 or a 4 out of 5 in terms of how people are willing to engage. And that goes from Gen Alpha, born 2013 to 2024, which is born in 2024 and you're engaging with content already. Okay, apparently. So Gen Alpha all the way to the baby boomers born back in 1946. So video connects, and then you sort of get a little bit weaker, or a little bit less as you sort of go away from that middle. Podcasts and images coming on the fringe on one side, webinars, blog posts, newsletters going out. So I feel like there's a couple different ways to approach what kind of content you and your business create. I always tell people, if you don't like doing it, it's not going to last. So either don't do it, or that's where you have to hire someone to do it. I know plenty of people who are brilliant, but are never going to turn the camera on and talk by themselves. So I say, don't do it. Except this data says, if you want to talk to those people, those are how to do it. That's where you hire someone to hold your hand. And it could be simple as, setting the camera up, making the lights are good, making sure your microphone and audio comes out well. It's also like sometimes you need your handheld to actually get that done. I do this service now on and off. I call it batting practice. Dave comes to me. Dave, maybe we'll just do this. Let's just do this between you and I. You come to me and you say, here are my problems. I go away and I come up with 20 or 30 questions that I think your answers will help your audience come to the conclusion that whatever answer you want them to have is you. Then I sit down, put you on camera. I turn my camera off. So it's just the Dave show. It's just Dave. And you sit there and answer, and you give me answer. And I ask you the same question from 7 different. If I don't like the answer, great. I star it. I come back again. But then I'm smart enough to pass that video off to an editor who's going to make that thing pop. So this data can say, well, I don't like doing video. I don't like myself on camera. Doesn't say you have to be on camera, but also you don't have to do the whole process. So that was some interesting data and what I thought about it from Neil Patel.
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped out at me. I was like, long form, short form video, 5s all the way down. Awesome, because that's where I feel the most comfortable. I'm not a great writer. I don't do audio only podcasts. So it just happened to work out. But if anybody listening right now, like I've shared this before, I said, look, if you're not comfortable talking to a blank screen, like Jimmy said, figure out ways to make it work. Yesterday on my Instagram, I'm trying to grow my Instagram, tony.maritato.pt. Go check it out. I recorded myself teaching a patient how to do what I want them to do. I think the particular one I shared yesterday was like a sit to stand squat, and it was using this chair. And it was totally different because I don't even know the camera is there. I hit record, I set it up, but I'm not thinking about the camera. I'm not thinking about the audience behind the camera. I'm thinking about the patient in front of me. And so I'm talking to that patient very differently than I would talk to that little dot. And it changes the dynamic. So no matter how uncomfortable you think you are, talk to a human and record yourself doing that.
It's really hard. This is really simple.
It's so simple. We're doing long form right now. And then, you guys chop it up. We chop it up. Nate, my editor, chops it up. And I haven't been doing a lot of YouTube shorts and clips and reels and all that, but I need to get back to doing it or offload it and have someone else do it. But you make the long form content like this, there's going to be certain nuggets and things that you really like and you want to get in front of your ideal client or customer or your, certain demographic or whatever. And you cut out those pieces. It now becomes short form content. And that is that 5 by 5, that middle area where it's still like a really powerful medium for all these demographics, all these different age groups.
So Dave, I want you and I in the next day or two to do this. And again, this is going to take you telling me, I'm going to write you an email. You're going to respond back. I'm going to write 20 questions. Then we're going to jump on the same platform we're recording right now. We're going to record for, 15, 30 minutes. There's no real limit till we get to what we feel is good. Then we'll chop those up and you share them and let's see how it does. Because we also had an idea of what if we could do this in person? Because I really do think people, myself included, are sort of blocked in terms of, okay, I know I have to do that, but sometimes you need someone to come along and go, knock, knock, knock. I'm at your house. We're going to go clean out your garage. It's like you could have done it the whole time, but you needed someone to actually be there with you. So the idea is, could we do this at CSM, right? Because me flying to Dave's house or me flying to Tony's house, you don't want to have to pay for that, right? But if we're already at CSM, if we flew in a day early, so you're like, okay, I'm going to pay for the service, but I'm going to be able to charge you a lower rate because I'm going to bring a photographer with the gear and the But better than the gear, better than the photographer, better even than the editor afterwards, because there's apps for that. It's someone actually giving you batting practice. Dave, you think hitters would get good? You're a baseball guy. Just by tossing the ball up to yourself and hitting? What about a tee? Just a tee. That's it? You got to see live pitching, right? So that's sort of the assist, which is sometimes you need someone to understand where you're trying to hit the ball or where your problem is to pitch the ball in that location. So I don't know. I think I tossed you guys a price on what I would charge someone. And I think Tony was offended by that price. He was like, double it, triple it. He's like, it's worth more. And it's because I'm a bleeding heart. But if people were going to CSM, I'd be interested. Number one, no one's doing it. So why aren't they doing it? Is it because we've had this idea that no one else has? Also, I think people are doing it, just not in our profession. Or is it not valuable? Will people not pay for it?
It's definitely valuable. I think a lot of folks that are not fully in the media space, meaning, and I'm I would say I kind of am, and Tony definitely is, the people that are not in it, they don't understand the ROI and how if it's patient facing, how many new patient evals and how many plans of care came from this and all that. I think, if you really want to make more out of it, then that is another way to probably charge 2, 3, whatever X, because if you can kind of show, hey, our average place, average, for me, if you and I do it, we should do it first of all, then we can track it. I will be happy to share how many leads, how many patients converted, how much they paid, all that type of stuff. We can even interview if they approve of it. I can then interview and speak with the patients, get that on video, and be like, hey, here's a patient that came through this video interview platform through PT Pintcast and Jimmy McKay, and here's what resonated with them, and here's why they started with us, and it all came from a video through Jim.
I didn't think about this, but that's one level deeper, is that we always say hey, listen, putting your clinicians on camera is good. You know what's better? Putting the audience on camera. But now you're forced to sort of be the media person. And you're like, I don't know how to do that. So another follow-on service could be the same process, but instead of a clinician doing it via Zoom or in person, is the patient. Now we're going to ask, okay, what was your experience like? Those sort of things. A lot of times patients too, it's a little awkward. It looks like a hostage negotiation situation. How was your experience here with me as your physical therapist? Of course you're gonna. It was great. I loved it, right? But now it's this third party who's actually the one asking the questions. It's a different situation.
Now, Jimmy, I know you've done this synchronous and async. I love the idea of asynchronous. I've done this
Mhm.
before also, where basically you've got somebody remote, a therapist, and you're like, look, I'm going to record me asking the camera 10 questions. And then that therapist at some time in the next week or two, they're going to play that video and then record their answer to you as if you were there asking them live. But then the next layer to that, if you had the time and the money, is you would take their responses and you would re-ask your questions, because their responses are going to always be just a little bit off to what your questions were in the beginning. And so
Correct.
you can re-ask the question to better match and engage with their responses. And when you mix it all together, you have amazing content. And to talk about the value, to talk about not understanding the value, I think it's just like patients. Patients come into the clinic. They're like, why do I have to strengthen this muscle? Why do I have to improve my cardio? Why do I have to do these things? They don't understand the value of that until they do it. And then all of a sudden they start seeing, oh, well, wait a minute. It's way easier to get out of a chair if I have a little more strength and a little more endurance and better balance.
All right. So
we just got to get people doing it.
So you're you might be two people who are a little too savvy, but pretend that you aren't going to create your own content. Let me go through what my pitch is. Okay. So the idea is, if you're already going to CSM, and I'm picking CSM because I'm already going, right? So we're looking at an hour or 90 minutes. Like, I'm not going to ask someone to give up more than that. I'm going to bring someone who knows how to use the camera so I don't miss. Also, so I can focus on this and not this and thinking about those things, right? I'm focused on the person. That person is capturing it. I'd like that person to walk away with a bunch of deliverables. I have the bunch of deliverables in my head. I don't want to focus on a number, but here's what I'm thinking. We'll focus on type, right? And here's how I got to my type. Ta-da, using data, right? So obviously I want to do a long form, like sort of like origin story interview. So I'm going to tell me your story, ask them 4 or 5 questions, prompting them. In the end, they'll get that video of them talking from multiple angles with me edited out. That's a great YouTube video that you can put as your intro video. Boom, you've got your business card that's, 2 to 5 minutes, depending. We'll also do a quick batting practice session, 20 questions or something. So you walk away with 20 short form videos. Going out from short form video, man, images are still strong. Look, 4s and 5s across the board. I'll bring in a photographer, and that photographer is now going to pose you in pictures and make you look great. Even with bajillion megapixel cameras, photographers are still a job, right? Because just because you have a power tool doesn't mean you can build a house. So I want you to show up in an outfit or two and do some photo sessions, both inside and out. I want B-roll too, because I want you to have tools to walk away. And what does that mean? I want you walking along the street. I want you, maybe we'll get a mock patient, or we can have you working with someone else. I want to just give you a bunch of B-roll that can have that person. Hey, maybe we'll do like PT school. The person you're treating is the person next to my calendar, and then you have to be that person's B-roll person. But I'm looking at this saying, what are those things? Look to the far right, text-based posts. I'm not going to help you with text. You got ChatGPT for that. You can figure that out. Far to the left, email, newsletters, and blog posts. I'm not doing that. That's not really what I'm here for. Webinars, we can do at a later date. I'm focused on long form, short form images, and then a mock podcast to stay to that middle right. So that's what the package looks like. I'll do as much as I can get and as much as you want. You can tell me which one you want more of. You got 90 minutes. What do you want? So that's my pitch.
Hey, so this is a little feedback from my buddy here in South Jersey, Sam Kellicates. He said he had a patient do this for him. They're a videographer. They swapped and bartered services, and she did the exact same thing. And she asked Dr. Sam, questions about what he does and why. And he said it was great. And he said I had someone to talk to instead of the camera. Yeah. So I think you're right, Jimmy. This does solve a challenge, which is, like, I think because us three have had so many reps, we could just do this. Like, Tony talks into the camera and does like the equipment reviews, the right. different product reviews, and that you can't just start there. Like
right.
it's almost really awkward for like most people to start there. So to have a service where you can ask them and kind of interview them, and really it's like one thing that they have to do, right? The long form. You chop it up, that becomes the short form. Then they, a couple poses for pictures. If you're talking about, pictures, that's easy. So really, it's just one challenging thing. It's answering questions, which then now becomes not so challenging.
And here's the thing. People always say, you're going to ask me questions. What questions? What questions? Yeah. What questions are you going to ask me? What questions?
Yeah, no, just a chat, just a conversation, right?
Even better. Here's what I tell people when they're going to come on my podcast. They always say yes. And then 40% of the time, what are you going to ask me? I'm like, okay. And I give away my secrets. I have a form that guests fill out. It's not because I'm lazy. It's because I want to make sure I'm on target, right? So the form essentially asks you the same damn question 20 times. What do you want to talk about? What are you smart about that you think other people should know, right? You filling out that form before we come to CSM to do this, you're putting the balls in my batting practice bucket. The questions that come out of my hand, out of my mouth, you wrote them. You just didn't know it. I'm not asking you to write them. I'm asking you to word vomit. It's the same as a subjective exam. What's the problem? What do you think the issue is? When does it hurt? When does it not hurt? You're writing the treatment plan as a patient. You just don't know it. I'm the filter. So that's my idea. So number one, you're not going to hurt my feelings, especially on Dave's birthday. Is this something I should try to do? Is it because I got to put, even though Scott is saying this is low effort, high impact, there's some effort, which I'm okay with, right? I had to organize. I'm thinking about doing it in a cool setup. Like maybe I rent an Airbnb the day before we do it, like get somewhere dope, like background, right? Some good space, good vibes, right? So it is low effort, but high impact. Do you think I should add anything to the package? Is there anything missing, or is there anything in there that doesn't need to be?
I would say the package is way too big. I'm always, you're always pushing further and I'm always pulling back.
Yeah. That's what she said. Keep going. That's what she said. You got me last time with the Scranton thing.
Yes. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Like 100%. Every time I've offered to do paid interviews, I always get people who want it. It's always a great experience. Either I'm frozen or you guys are frozen.
You're a little stuttery. Dave, what do you think? Is there anything in there that shouldn't be? Should I make this? Is my package too big?
Package is never too big.
Didn't see what's on my bingo card for Thursday, but so is there too much? I would rather overserve the first 30 I do.
If it were going to be this whole thing of like, hey, here's the approach and we're going to do like the long form and you're going to have cameras and all that. And if it's a CSM, maybe it makes it easier for some. I think it's probably more like a bigger dollar amount for bigger practices. This is not something for like a solo practice owner.
Yeah, I agree. And this goes back to Chris Doe from the Future podcast. Are you selling a logo to Nike? Or are you selling a logo to the mom and pop pizza shop down the road? Because if you want to deliver that to a, mobile therapist who's just getting started, who has no money, they're not going to put money behind it. They're not going to pay to push it out. They're not going to do anything with it. They're going to have a brick of gold that they're using, to keep a door open. Yeah. This is something for the ATIs, the Atleticos, the JAGs, like the bigger practices that are going to leverage the content you're creating.
Now, do I have a problem with those people already having media teams? Ironically, they do have media teams, but they don't do things like this. They do this. I mean, not to knock these large practices, but they play it so safe that their stuff is mayonnaise, not hot sauce. I don't know if I'm going to give you sriracha, but I want to give you something spicier than mayonnaise here, like something that actually hits on these things. Like, I don't think these things are leveraged enough. I think when they get to a marketing team, and I'll defend the marketing team, is they're told to do stuff. They probably pitch edgy ideas or some grit to it. And then things just get watered down because you have to pay attention to things like stock price.
So this would be where I think you look at a group like the rehab CEOs, Joey and Robbie. They have a group of practice owners that are in that, like in between. They're growing. They're aggressive, like they want to succeed. They will put money into things that they know is going to provide value. They're not too big and they're not too small. They're the sweet spot for something like this.
Okay.
So really quick, Stephen Dunn down in Louisiana, he commented, the last Indeed ad he ran to hire a PT got him 0 leads over 3 weeks. He said, I was shocked. Yeah. I'm ready to start looking again and appreciate the tips. Y'all have a great day. Stephen, thank you for tuning in live, commenting live. And Stephen, all you have to do, you or a virtual assistant or an admin or whoever at your team, you create a little thing like I did. We just, at the top of the show, just go back to, you want to create some offer that has, the certain keywords or the components that'll catch attention like that does. You message, I don't know, like dozens or hundreds of therapists in the Louisiana area. You can go on LinkedIn. You go to, by the way, what I've done is I go on LinkedIn, I click on Fox Rehab or Luna PT, and then I click on New York City Metro, and it gives me a list of people that are already doing home visits in New York City. I message them first because they're already doing home visits, right? So they're halfway there. And I'm like, hey, you could do the same thing. We're going to train you up. We're going to support you. We're going to coach you and all that. But you could make more doing the exact same thing. Less patients per day, less notes per day, all that. But message the Louisiana therapist in the area, your offer. We went over this before if you want me to go over it again, but ask them hey, are there any colleagues or friends that we should speak with about this, with a question mark at the end. So you're not even asking that person. Do that for dozens or dozens and dozens, maybe 100 therapists in the area. And you're going to get a few that respond and they're like, hey, I'm interested. And they had no idea, Stephen, that the practice, was nearby or was looking for a therapist.
I mean, what's unique about his situation is the Pilates and the gyro technique, I think it's called. He has such a specialty niche with the other things that he's doing. I'm honestly surprised that he's still looking for a therapist. I thought he would have been outside of PT. He would have been done with hiring PTs because he has such a big business outside of that. Let's do parting shots. What are you guys thinking?
I'll start parting shots. I still don't think I understand Tony's question about is it a lazy PT or therapist or not? Maybe it's an evolving thing, but really at the end of the day, it comes back to signaling and all the touch points and everything in the whole process. Through that, you kind of get an idea of the candidate. And again, they're on their best behavior in the very beginning of the process. So as you get more reps, you're going to get better and better at identifying your ideal candidate.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we hit today was just getting the information out there to so clearly convey the culture and the mission of your business that the quote lazy person doesn't even bother to apply because they know that this isn't where they need to be. Don't make it so attractive, so appealing, so we're going to do everything for you and pay you $1 million a year and you see one patient an hour. Just I like Jimmy's approach. You're look, this job sucks. There's a restaurant in Sarasota that had a sign that said, we serve warm beer and cold food, and they were full every single day. That would be my approach.
Dick's Last Resort. You guys been to Dick's Last Resort? It's a chain. Oh, it's the whole premise is the servers are just kind of jerks. Yeah. They just talk smack. Dude, but here, funny quick story is my dad and a group of New York City firemen went in there on a golf trip, but 10 of the dudes didn't know the deal. And so they're in South Carolina getting told by some, waitress that, stick it up your whatever. And these guys were losing it. They had to be held hold on, it's part of the shtick. It's part of the shtick. So, yes, people, you're looking for jagged edges. Look, Dave, people can find a regular job anywhere. As Gary Vee would say, you can find just a crappy job anywhere. You're looking for the one person for the golden mile who wants to do that. All right, I'm going to flesh this idea out. Dave, you let me know when you want to do some batting practice. Before that, I'm going to fire you off an email, and you're going to write my questions for me. That's the trick, is I'm the laziest interviewer ever. The guest tells me what to ask next. We'll see you guys again on Tuesday. Dave, again, happy birthday. Man.
Happy birthday.
Do something great.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE@CONCIERGE painrelief.com, or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.